Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check them out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Alright, welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. So tonight's tale, we're going to cover a dude named Marvin John Heemeyer. Since Josh actually gave me this episode, I actually had the pleasure of having him on again. And it's going to be a good fucking time. So, yeah, he's on Spotify. Check him out on the Jake and Josh show.
Jake and Josh show.
That's correct. So, yeah, thanks for giving me the case, man. It's pretty fucking wild, actually. I went through everything, I think.
Yeah, it's super in depth. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be a good time. So, this dude here, he became self-employed during his life, and he owned this muffler shop and his own property. He was a straightforward kind of guy, no bullshit, right? He would just tell it how it is. Now, muffler shop actually specializes in the repair and replacement of vehicle mufflers, exhaust systems, just stuff like that. Now, mufflers are actually a key component of the exhaust system, and it's designed to reduce engine noise. So this guy was good at his work. Now, a muffler is also known as a silencer in some regions. It's a device that reduces the noise produced by the engine's exhaust. At one point, Heemeyer got so good at this that it was just fucking repetitive for him. He could fix a muffler or any work that needed to be done in like 20-minute tops, in that kind of time frame. So, during his life, he had a few different occupations. USAF veteran, so United States Air Force. He was a welder and an automobile repair shop owner.
This is the perfect combination.
Oh yeah, man, it's gonna get greasy. Well, I got all of his audio tapes too. I'm gonna post that as a bonus episode, so you can hear everything that happened, then his whole descent into madness and then revenge, and he's just fucking flipping. It's good times.
Fuck yeah.
Old Mel here was born on October 28th, 1951, up in Castlewood, South Dakota. So this is a city in Hamlin County, and it's a part of the Watertown, South Dakota micropolitan statistical area. So the population was not much, 698 back in the 2020, and now it's over 700. So I mean that fucking gained 2 people.
That's nuts. That's a lot of growth.
Oh yeah, man, tons of growth, man. And it was actually founded back in 1881. So the city was actually named Castlewood after a place that was mentioned in a 1857 novel, The Virginians by William Makepeace Thackeray. Wild fucking name, eh? Now Marv grew up on a dairy farm with his mother and father. His father was John Harm Heemeyer. He was born July 30th, 1924, up in Bemis, Duell County, South Dakota. Probably butchered that name. And he passed on March 21st of 2004 at the age of 79 up in Clear Lake, Duell County, South Dakota. And he was buried in the Christian Reformed Cemetery. So it sucks, but I mean, people get old.
Yeah, people definitely get old. 79 is a pretty good age there.
Oh yeah, I'd say he lived a long life.
Yeah, not bad.
Now his mother was a woman named Augusta Mulder Heemeyer. She was born October 31st, 1920, up in Orange County, Sioux County, Iowa. And she passed away on November 7th of 2002, and she was 82. And she passed in Estillene, Hamlin County, South Dakota.
Yeah, they basically decided to follow the life expectancy for men and women in the United States. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I mean, life expectancy is key, right?
Yeah, yeah, and women live just a couple years older than men, and I think men are at 79. Women might be at 81 or something.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's women that live like fuck till 100, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I just mean the average. The overall average I think is 79 and 81, something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they probably live longer because like we're dead earlier than them, and they don't got to hear our bitching or nothing, right?
Well, I think it's the other way around. But no, we like to do dangerous shit and fall off ladders and stuff too.
Oh yeah, no, it's grand old times, man.
Yeah.
Ladders are pretty sturdy until they're not.
Yeah, yeah, or you just don't set it up good because you're like, oh, I can't set it up good, but I still got to get up there, you know?
Got to be quick about this.
Yeah.
So this dude did a lot of hard work while growing up on the farm. Um, Obviously, he lived with his parents. It was a simple enough life. Now, it was a dairy farm, actually. So this is like a agricultural establishment focused on the production of milk and dairy products. So typically involves like the raising and management of the dairy cattle. So it's just a type of farm where the primary activity is long-term production of milk. And other stuff too, cheese and shit like that. And then it's either processed on the farm or on a separate dairy plant or what have you. So dude did a bunch of work like managing the farm, doing a bunch of cool activities like extracting the milk from the animals. You can usually do this normally by hand, but I mean, sometimes you could do it through automated systems. But most likely back in those days, it was all by hand. So, a couple other things. There's milk handling. So this means the processing, cooling and storing of the milk. Sometimes it further processes it into like other dairy products like cheese, yogurt, butter. But keeping up with all this like chores and everything, right? It's actually a chore in itself. But it's a
Yeah.
major sector of the agriculture in many parts of the world because it provides like a key source of nutrition for human consumption, right?
Yeah, pretty much people need to eat food. And if they don't eat food, they die. There are people who say they don't eat food, but I think those people are probably lying. Well, I mean, yeah, but you're eating something. You know what I'm saying?
Berries,
Or you die.
people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, fuck yeah. So Heemeyer worked hard all his life here, spent a lot of time with his dad growing up. He did pretty well in his schooling as well. But later on, he did slack a little bit. He actually broke his arm in the fourth grade, I bet.
A bit. His arm a bit in fourth grade there.
Oh, yeah, he fucking snapped it in half.
Just snapped it a bit.
Uh,
Just a little bit.
but still, this dude graduated from 28 of his class, and it was like out of 29 students. This was Castlewood High School. Now, at one time, one of his teachers told him that he wouldn't amount to shit. But honestly, this guy was smart as hell. Like, a very intelligent man. Very fond of tinkering with engines and cars later on in his life, hence the whole muffler owning business and stuff.
So he was 28th out of 29th, right? Which means he was bottom of his fucking class. But he really just didn't give a shit, right? He was like, fuck all that stupid paper shit. I'm gonna build tanks, right?
Exactly.
In the future.
I mean, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Exactly.
Or 28th.
Well, 28th, that means like he's at the very bottom, right? He's one away from the bottom. That's how it's right. Yeah, classic pattern of not liking authority, saying "fuck the man."
Now, in between this, he picked up welding around 1969. Very good at his craft, right? So, welder, definition on this is a person that fuses metal materials together. Well, these metals to be like steel, aluminum, brass, or stainless steel. So, heavy metal.
Yeah, and they usually use electricity to do so. They go zzz.
Forge. There you go. So after completing college, he joined up with the Air Force 1969, and then in 71, he was stationed at Lowry Air Force Base. So he worked here for a bit until 1974, then he moved to Colorado, during which time he was actually first introduced to the state of Colorado, right, while he was stationed here, so he fucking loved this place. Now, a little bit about Lowry Air Force here. Originally, it was Lowry Field from 1938 to 48, and it's a former United States Army Air Force base, training base during World War II. The whole training bases and everything here, like, they went through the Cold War and all that with the United States Air Force and stuff. And the base was designed on June 24th, 1948. And then on August 26, 1948, it was established as a Lowry Training Organization under the 3415th Technical Training Wing. So good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was honorably discharged in 1977, and then sometime after his military service, he returned to Colorado, where he started to work at Scotty's Mufflers. So he did so well here that he actually bought one of the franchises from Scotty's and ran it with a buddy named Cliff Udy. So this is in 1978. But things didn't go as planned. The Scotty's franchise had filed for bankruptcy. Womp womp.
Bummer.
Bad bummer. So what they did, they ended up getting 3 of those shops, but they couldn't get them back up and running as they wanted. They owed 10 grand on the business here, and they dipped out on being partners. So they sold a couple shops, left themselves 1 shop each, and then they went their separate ways.
In 1980, Marv sold his muffler shop and moved to Boulder, Colorado. And this is where it would pick up. He ran a chain of successful muffler shops in the Denver and Boulder areas. There was Boulder Muffler, located at 4770 Sterling Drive. He became very well known for his quality work and quiet demeanor, and Marv had built a reputation as a hardworking member of the local business community. People actually gave him the nickname of Marv the Muffler Man. He knew he was handy with the steel. He fixed motors, engines, and could weld anything. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep. Regulators. Mount up. It didn't take him long, working at shops in North Denver and Boulder, to see that he was better than his bosses at the mechanics and the business side of muffler repair. He opened his own shop with help from a partner, and before long he had 2 more shops in Boulder and Denver. He became well known for being able to fix a muffler in under 20 minutes. Also, in the mid-'80s, he lost $57,000. This is on a land scam. The realtor devised this whole scheme where he would have wraparound mortgages, and the corporation would sell these lots, and after so many years, they would go bankrupt. Since Marv was a buyer, he would have paid the county commissioner some thousands of dollars, and then he'd get all the real estate commissions too. But shit went downhill fast. The company was marking their books up and later went under after being found out of keeping inflated bookkeeping. So they started foreclosing on all the lots people had purchased. In Marv's own words here, after setting up a meeting with a lawyer that cost him $1,500, only to be told it was legal what they did and it was called a forfeiture of equity. The lawyer said even if you went to court over this, it would be 30 grand to do so, and him and his buddies would still lose. So he said fuck it and went out all that money. He also bought an apartment building complex in Denver. This was foreclosed on and he lost out on some more coin, but at least he was taking chances on shit. So when he was in the Air Force, he enjoyed Colorado so much that when he got stationed there in the 70s, he decided to live here once he was even out of the Air Force. So originally he was going here for just a 6-month vacation to enjoy himself and do whatever he wanted, and he moved up in the fall of 1991. It was just him that moved up here, as he had no relatives in the Granby or Grand Lake area. He moved to a place called Grand Lake, which is about 16 miles or 26 kilometers away from the town of Granby that we'll soon start talking about. He bought a 3-lot cabin on a place they call Woodpecker Hill and bought a nice big cabin that included a hot tub. He spent a lot of time in that hot tub, melting away life's little bit of stress and relaxing with a couple drinks, stuff like that. He started Marv's Muffler Shop, located up in Granby, Colorado, while staying in Grand Lake. When he moved, he left his muffler shop in Boulder, leased to a buddy of his. The location of the muffler shop was 4790 Pearl Street. The guy he leased it to was Doug Grandstetter. He ran it for some 4.5 years before it all went to shit. He was a previous drug user and alcohol abuser and pestered Marv for a job all the time. He gave him the job and things were good, and he let him lease it when he left. Because of a divorce from his wife, he seemed to go a bit downhill, and Marv ended up getting some other help to run the place. Besides the shop in Boulder, he was running things in Granby, Colorado as well. Sometimes he got so busy that he would have to go to work at both places to help out, something he had no problem doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, Marv was just a fucking good guy, man. From, like, everything I heard, the audio tapes, everything, right? Like, everybody fucking loved this guy, too, man. One of his buddies had contacted him from down in Boulder, and he wanted to know if Marv would help him look for a property. Now, this dude was John Kleiner. So Marv had snowmobile with him on occasion. That's what he did in his spare time. So Kleiner actually owned a place called DJ's Auto Care. Dr. John's Auto Care, I guess Marv called her. So he wanted to start up a garage up in the Granby area as he heard how well Marv was doing. And he also owned a cabin up there, too. This was somewhere off County Road number 4. So Marv obviously got on the horn. He started looking around for him. And Marv did a shitload of exhaust work for this dude, too, right? So, I mean, they were kind of, buddies and shit. So old Marv said, what the hell? I'll look for some properties for you. Now, he found one. This was an old concrete plant. Now, the place had like 3 bay doors, shit like that. So, I mean, it was a decent spot anyway, right? The previous owner actually went bankrupt. And this dude was Cody Dochev. So that was that guy's name. Now, he looked at it, thought it was like rather pricey here. So Marv just talked to the realtor here. His name was Jeff Crane. So not long after, he went up all that shit, right? He's like, it's kind of pricey and stuff. But, I mean, he did hear about this FDIC auction. So this means like a Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So what this is, it's a fucking United States government corporation. So they supply deposit insurance to depositors in American, like commercial and savings banks. So the FDIC was created by the Banking Act of 1933. Now it was enacted during the Great Depression to restore trust in the American banking system. So the FDIC is an independent agency created by Congress to maintain stability and public confidence in the nation's financial system. So knowing this auction would have a shit ton of foreclosed properties, including the one that he looked at prior, he could now get the property a lot cheaper than it was originally quoted. So what he did is he just waited for this. I mean, plus that company there, like that owned the lot and everything, that was Resolution Trust Corporation. So that was the one that owned the land after it got foreclosed or whatever. So this whole shebang was a 3,000 square foot building with 2 acres of land. And 2 acres is a pretty big property. I mean, it's equal to what, like 87,120 square feet? Get that in you.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, man. It's actually approximately the size of 1.5 football fields. The foosball. Foosball's the devil. Now, after talking to John here, the two came back to an agreement here that the amount total to be offered for the property was $66,000. If it went any higher than that amount, the property wouldn't be bought by them, and then they'd look elsewhere. So I believe there were like 160 properties to be looked at. at that auction as well. Now, once Heemeyer got to the auction, the bid was originally starting at like 35,000, but it was still a lower cost than anticipated. But there was also a fucking EPA audit in place in this property too, so that was another stipulation with it. Now, this is also known as the environmental audit. So here, what happens here is they examine a company's environmental policies and their practices. So the EPA's audit policy here is a formal program designed to encourage regulated entities to voluntarily discover and fix violations of the federal environment laws and regulations. So just means that like this whole place that they bought had to be fixed up, had to be cleaned, because the old concrete places and all that was still there was in like violations and all that. So I guess they left some messes here from the previous construction work, and the new owners that bought it would have to clean some of this shit up. Now the cost to clean this was actually $20,000. That was the quote that was given to him. So the EPA actually surveyed the place beforehand and things like that. So that was one of the stipulations when they bought the land. But the FDIC actually contributed to some of that, and they actually did most of the cleanup on the lot. It was like oil spills and different things like that. So Heemeyer got to $40,000. Then the other dude bid him $45,000. Now they kept bidding for a couple moments here. Marv ended up bidding $50,000, and then the man that was bidding against him, that was actually Cody Dochev, he didn't place another bid. So I guess his cap was $50,000. So Marv got the lot for that bid. So the other dude didn't fucking know Marv at all, right? He's like, well, who's this guy coming in, right? Now Marv never heard of him. I guess he's like this whole big shot in the not the company but the town. So Cody was just there to bid on the property so he could build a concrete plant. Now, previously, the property that was being bid on was actually Dochev's at one point, but he didn't pay his shit, and it was foreclosed. So and he was here to try to get it back. Now, the guy that was banking the money for the property was a dude named Gus Harris. So he was backing him to try to get the fucking property back, and then he'd sell it to fucking Dochev. Now, Harris was a resident of Granby since 1954, and he was a former mayor of Granby, actually, from the late 1960s, I believe. And actually, a little bit about him, he was actually once owner of the trucking line NPT, and he owned a gravel pit, and he's been involved in like construction on and off throughout his career. And he had a wife named Dorothy. So good for old Gussie. So like I said, Gus was going to sponsor the budget here. And then he didn't want to spend $50,000 on the whole thing. So that was his cap.
Yeah, so yeah, after Heemeyer got the property, the other bidder, Cody Dochev, supposedly came up and ripped him a new asshole, and he didn't like that Marv bought the property he wanted so badly. He also didn't like that an out-of-towner one-upped him. This Cody dude had a bunch of people very high up in the food chain. Policemen, people on the city council, people that worked on the zoning committee, and him being a born resident and native to Granby, all of them thought differently of outsiders coming into town to try to make a name for themselves. And after yelling at Heemeyer for about 10 minutes, he fucked off, and some say it never happened. And there's some that say they've seen Dochev come unglued on him and walk away. But in the audio tapes I found of Marvin Heemeyer, he mentions this encounter very vividly, and it's also mentioned in a few documentaries, so you guys can have your own take on it. So after he bought the place, he was making big plans to utilize his newfound property. Marv did offer to sell it to him for $66,000, and he'd find something else, but it didn't go down like that, and Marv left with his new place. He called up his buddy John and explained the situation at the auction, and about the previous owner and the EPA cleanup. Right then and there, John wanted no part of it and backed out of the deal. But since John didn't put a deposit down, it came out of Marv's pocket, and he was now the full owner of the place. Then he started to clean the property up a bit. This was now the year of 1992, so he bought himself a dump truck and backhoe from his father to get rid of all the old steel and level out the ground and everything. So now, with the place all spick and span, he opened up a muffler shop and called it Mountain View Muffler. After a while, a dude named Bud Wilson came snooping around and told Marv they needed him to hook onto the water and the sewer line. Originally, all that was here was an old cement truck dump mixer in the ground, and it was being used for all the waste around the property. Bud was with the water and sanitation department, so he came down to get things in order. A meeting would help get the ball rolling on this, and Bud would end up getting the paperwork in order. So the meeting came up. He went, and shit just snowballed. They would have to run this line through the next property by the muffler shop, but this property was owned by that Gus Harris dude. That property had a water line, but no maintenance was done on it. Without the maintenance feesment done to that line on the neighboring property, Marv couldn't get sewage hookup, unfortunately. So Marv waited a bit and built himself a boat storage unit on the land, then tossed up a boat storage ad, and business boomed, covering the cost of the building. By now, he had his own well there and a septic system. So a septic system is an on-site wastewater treatment system typically found in rural areas without access to municipal sewer. It's a series of components that treat wastewater at the property where it's generated, using natural processes to separate soils, remove pollutants, and return treated effluent to the soil or environment. Basically, it's leaching all your shit into the soil around it. And by 1996, the lot next to him was bought by that Cody Dochev guy. This then made them neighbors. So this here just ended up causing more bullshit for our buddy Marv. In 97, it got back to Marv that Dochev made a comment about buying Marv's property so he could expand his concrete business. This made him curious about how much the place was worth, since he cleaned it up and added shit to it over the years. It got appraised at $270,000. So he made an offer for $250,000 to Dochev sometime down the line, and nothing came from it. So Heemeyer carried on. But in 99, it came up that Dochev wanted the other property located on the west side of Marv's, which was a whopping 21 acres. So Marv went and tried to purchase it out from under him. The reason for this was because he didn't want to be downwind with all the concrete dust particles flying through the air, as breathing that shit in ain't good for a guy. And breathing concrete dust, especially crystalline silica dust, can lead to serious health problems, including silicosis, which is a potentially fatal lung disease. While short-term exposure might just cause a little bit of irritation, and long-term or intense exposure can lead to chronic conditions like COPD, also lung cancer, and other such respiratory issues. Silicosis is a progressive lung disease caused by inhaling silica dust, leading to scarring of lung tissue and breathing difficulties. Concrete dust can cause inflammation and irritation in the respiratory system, leading to coughing, shortness of breath, and chest discomfort, fatigue, weakness, or weight loss in some cases. By 1998, he was doing all right for himself. Business was booming and was steady as fuck. Plus, add on his other muffler shop's income, he wasn't hurting. But now he was getting notices in the mail about the rezoning of his property. All the while, Dochev was starting to build a well and a water storage tank for some reason or another. Dochev got dinged on this too. He got a fine for putting it up, etc. In the meantime, Marv sprung into action and lawyered up to see what he could do to stop the building of this whole big-ass construction plant. He told him all the zoning shit that Cody wasn't meeting, and it seemed to be all shrugged off. He wasn't meeting codes for this and that. But the lawyer kept on saying you got no case with every bit of detail Marv gave him. But the moment Marv made mention that they started building shit, he said, wait a minute, they can't build unless they had final approval to do so. He told Heemeyer to go snap some pictures of the property to see what had been started construction-wise, which he did. He got the pictures and other documents done up and handed them over to the lawyer. So before the meeting for the approval of the concrete plant, the lawyer phones back Heemeyer and tells him some sort of procedural error, and they only showed up for a couple of public hearings. So on this note, they could stop the construction.
Well, I mean, even with all that shit, right? Like, you can't miss fucking public hearings. So, I mean, if you're especially, you're building a cement plant and stuff. So they missed a couple there and whatever. They're like, we don't care. We're going to build this. But that could actually ding them later on down the road, right?
Yeah, for sure. They wrote up a letter to give to the final meeting and how they were going about the construction all wrong and shit. But Dochef's attorney fired back at them saying they were doing it by the books. Then the whole thing ended up in a break, and they said the building permits were all good and allowed in with the zoning. It ended up being this whole construction shit was going ahead anyways, regardless of what Heemeyer and his lawyer were doing. All the while, the lawyer was telling Heemeyer it can be stopped, even though it couldn't. So Heemeyer was still paying him to stop the construction. So later on, the Skyline News ran some articles about the whole thing. The guy doing this was a Patrick Brower. The two men got into it years ago because of some gambling legalization shit. Heemeyer was strongly in favor of gambling legalization and campaigned for the cause on several occasions. At one point, he began disseminating a newspaper of his own on the issue, as he believed in local newspapers.
But it wasn't until 1994 that a measure was proposed that would have legalized gambling in Grand Lake. And yeah, Heemeyer was just a wicked supporter of this proposal. He was just so passionate about his cause here that he actually nearly came to blows with the local reporter who was opposed to the proposal. So legalized gambling encompasses various forms of betting and gaming activities that are legally sanctioned in certain jurisdictions. So this whole reporter dude here, how he became intertwined in all this shit, it's because he was supposed to swing by Marv's muffler shop so he could write up an ad for him, like this whole little thing here, get him in the newspaper, right? And get word out about the muffler shop. But it never happened. Now, Heemeyer was known frequently to go snowmobiling, right? So he only worked maybe fucking 3 days a week, 4 days a week, something like that. So the reporter was just either never around or he showed up and Marv wasn't around, right? Different things like that. But Marv had started to believe that it was due to them not wanting to give him publicity for his business. So, chalk another one up for the shit list. Now, Marv also knew that the newspaper was in cahoots with the whole city council shit too, right? Guys that were pretty powerful. They had the whole town and all this shit, right? Just higher up dickheads. But I mean, Marv said in his own words here, this guy knew the whole power of the pen, right? Said that in his audio tapes. And, Dochef and the city official guys are dicks. I mean, they could end up, doing no wrongs. Anything like that, right? But what they knew is how to do wrongs through the legal way. So, in a way, these guys were just fucking untouchable. Now, one time, they said Marv had no respect for authority, which wasn't the case. Now, Marv actually broke it all down to them. They weren't respecting the FDIC because they were building the building without any proper permits. They were printing ads about their feud and all that. And there was no respect towards any outsiders that came into town to make a life for themselves, right? Make a name for themselves type shit. And that's the way people were, oh, you're coming to my town and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just sound like bullies, right? It's oh, hey, man, you can't make a name for yourself here because I want to buy your land and I want to dick you around and stuff. Plus, all the public hearings that went on and the information sessions that were, held, all this was held to gather feedback for, the annexation, the rezoning, the concrete plant, all that. Now, townsfolk will go in here and they would say their piece on it, right? So they get them complaints of why this shouldn't be built, and others would be oh, hey, this is a good reason for this, and eventually it was more so for the good of the town, I guess. People would go in and see if it was. If it wasn't, they wouldn't build it. But Money talks, I guess. And it never stopped any development, actually. So in short, like the townspeople would just get together here, see if it was a good idea or not, see if it was ideal for the city, I guess. So at one point here, the whole management of the concrete plant, they offered Marvin 250,000 for this site, which he did seem to agree at first, but then he began to raise the price up because he got it appraised and stuff, right? So it was like 250,000, and then it was like 400,000, and then I believe it went up to like 1 million. He's like, "Fuck you all, give me $1 million, I'm out."
Yeah.
But they wouldn't pay that much, and the deal went nowhere. So it just seems that like they try to push Marv like out of his fucking property and stuff. You know what I mean? By using like the top guys in city council to fuck with him, place a bunch of fees and fines on his land, right?
Yeah, fine him out of his land, you know, make him have so many fines that he can't possibly keep up with it and he has to sell.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were just fucking slapping lawsuits on this dude, right? But I mean, Marv even tried to fucking sell this to Dochef on 3 separate occasions as well, but to no avail, right? Marv would go to Dochef, he'd be like, "Here, I'll sell it to you for this," and then he'd be like, "Whatever," and he'd never get back to him on the whole thing. So yeah. Plus, now without like the whole sewer and shit like that, the whole I believe they were rezoning the whole area too here around his property too. So what this would do here, when city council rezoned the whole area around his property, this blocked the access that he needed for his business. So like this took away his access road into the company, into his muffler shop. So now customers couldn't use that road to his muffler business. So the whole rezoning shit actually had a substantial impact on all his prospects and everything. So yeah, this just led to like a ton of financial strain for old Marv here, and a bunch of frustration. He was pissed off anyway. Now Heemeyer also engaged in several legal battles over the local authorities over the whole disputes, the property, but all he did was spend money on lawyers, get dicked around each time, and this ended up costing him a small fortune. But I mean, people were seeing Marv do this, right? Like his whole campaign was kind of successful because members of the public were concerned about potential environmental impacts. So they had changed the HGB zoning on that area.
So this whole zoning classification is designed for areas along major arterial and collector highways, and it's intended for businesses that are auto-oriented, service-oriented, and require larger building footprints and outdoor storage. These districts are typically located outside of central business areas and are planned to minimize traffic disruption and enhance aesthetic appeal to passing motorists, according to a Colorado municipality's zoning ordinance. These districts are typically found along major roadways outside of downtown or central business areas. In short, the HDB zoning aims to accommodate commercial development that is heavily reliant on automobile access and requires significant space for buildings and outdoor operations. So, in the whole spot zoning system shit, the city council withheld the easement necessary to connect the sewer line to the muffler shop around the existing concrete plant. In Marv's own words here, since nobody had protested this change within a 30-day period, it then became law that they could do this. He petitioned the city to have the property rezoned to prevent the construction of the plant, but he was rejected on multiple occasions. The Dochefs had also addressed the concerns from the citizens about all the concrete dust and all the noise by promising to install additional measures against dust and noise and presented from the plant. So they were like, yeah, we'll fix whatever you guys want us to, and blah, blah, blah. And because of all the legal shit, it took its toll on Marv. He mentions there's times being in his hot tub and just crying because of how all this went down. The crushing financial stress and all these challenges that came up. I couldn't even begin to imagine how defeated he felt. I believe even at one point the bank had found a fault with a previously issued mortgage loan and threatened to take away the house as well. The city also fined him money for having what they called junk cars on his property, even though this was shit he was fixing up and all of that. In June 2001, Joe Dochef called up Heemeyer and made him an offer that if Heemeyer dropped the lawsuit, they would provide him an easement to connect the sewer line to the new concrete plant free of charge. Heemeyer just hung up and didn't say a word back. And me, personally, I think the whole feud is crazy. All the back and forth shit, all the stuff with the city, and, Dochef speaking in, all the higher up years, and causing all this bullshit with Marv. I mean, Marv was a straight up working man. He just wanted to work. Hell, he owned numerous muffler shops prior to purchasing the land in Granby. He had shops in Denver, Commerce City, Aurora, Inglewood, Boulder, and one in Lakewood. He never had anyone fuck with him in any of those shops. The only time was up in Granby. The people literally plotted and schemed to take him away from an opportunity to make his money. He had also been asked for the sewer line extension to install a working toilet, and in order to stop using the property, and the city then made him pay a $100 a day fine until the water and sewage system was hooked up and done on his own dime. Around this time, the buried concrete truck barrel that served as Heemeyer's sewage hole had started filling up. Heemeyer pumping his sewage with a gasoline pump in the irrigation ditch that ran behind his property. Heemeyer also attempted to illegally connect to a neighbor's sewer line, but was caught, and the incident reported to the sanitation district. At this point, that's shitty. At this point, the sewer district started enforcing the legal requirement to have a sewer hookup or a septic tank and fined Heemeyer $2,500 for it and other city code violations as a business. This was around the year 2001 now, so he's going on nearly a decade without having the proper sewage system set up. He was banging heads with everyone. The newspaper, the Dochess family, the Thompson family. It was just too much. I believe the Thompsons denied him access to their sanitation district as well. The Thompson family owned a bunch of snow removal equipment and cleared the roads of Granby. After the lawsuit against the town was dismissed in April 2002, Heemeyer blamed the failure on his lawyer and demanded a refund, knowing the zoning decision was now final. There was fuck all he could do about it. His lawyer didn't give him shit back either. Another shit sandwich served ice cold for Heemeyer. By the end of it, he had given most of his shit away. Snowmobiles to friends, the cabin. Money didn't mean shit by this point. It's just too bad these guys didn't leave him alone and just let him do his thing on the property bought fair and square. He never had a rental payment on the cabin. It was all bought and paid for. He would have had customers, places for people to store boats, and places for them to park. Now he had none of that. They fucked him around in '92 when they kicked him off the sanitation district. When Gus wouldn't sell him the property where the concrete plant was, and then sold it to Cody Dochef. Then they gave Dochef the building permit for the concrete plant and denied it was the concrete plant, saying it was something else, but they kept building it. Even when Marv brought up these issues, they were looked over. They just stonewalled him, and they continued on doing what they were doing. On December 2nd, 2003, he finalized the sale of both the muffler shop and the adjacent metal building. The terms of that sale included a leaseback agreement that allowed Heemeyer's use of a walled-off 2,000 square foot section of the metal building until June 1st. It became his bulldozer garage. He ended up selling the lot for $400,000. He said, fuck it. He paid the taxes on it. He ended up getting $360,000 out of the deal. He sold it to some local municipal company. A couple guys named Travis Bussey and his other partner Bob. He didn't use a realtor. He ended up giving the money to his father, which ended up in his will, and then in turn split it up with his family so the town couldn't get a cent of it. This went to two brothers and a sister. I'm guessing the reason for this was because Marv knew what he had planned ahead. This way nobody could get any money out of him after his mission was complete.
Like all this dicking around, man, and all he wanted to do was own a muffler shop, rent some boat space out and stuff, and
He's like, I just want to live my fucking life, and the man's fucking me. In the end,
Yeah.
no lube.
Nope, none. And we don't even know Bob's last name, so sorry, folks.
With a fucking barbed wire dildo for no reason.
Right up the keister.
Jeez.
Now, Marv's father here, he died March 21st, 2004, up in Clear Lake, South Dakota. So, like I said, he was 79. And obviously, this tore Marv up like something fierce. And now it literally just seemed to go fucking downhill from here. Because he had nothing left. All his shit was gone. His dad died. You know, he had his brothers and sisters and stuff, but, you know, his father passing away from cancer totally fucked with him. And actually, there's a photo you can look at online there. Marv actually looks totally out of place. Like he fucking took this after his dad's death. He just looks lost. So fucking broken and defeated, man. And I mean, you know, right then and there, he was just going to move forward with his revenge plot against the city of Granby. So he had this whole fucking thing in the back of his head, right? Now, in the next few months, he ended up leasing one of the storage outlets. This was out back, and he ended up putting the bulldozer into it. Now, he bought this bulldozer actually to build like his own road to the property when they originally blocked the access to the land that he had. But the administration had refused to build him a new road. And they're like, nah, man, you can't build new shit. This is all fucking industry now. So Marv actually bought this thing, what was it, at an auction. This was out of town. This was 2002, July. So we got it at a Ritchie Brothers auction in California. Now at the time, he had this thing like for sale just out of the front of the shop. But nobody put an offer on it, right? Now nationally, this whole fucking thing was like $43,000. That was the selling price of it. So this was a Komatsu D335A bulldozer. Kind of a heavy duty crawler, known for like bunch of power, robustness, and particularly, it was just a fucking earth moving machine. So this whole thing's equipped with like a powerful turbocharged engine, delivers 410 horsepower, features a 19.9 cubic yard blade, and its operating weight is around 98,000 pounds. So it makes it really suitable for like handling massive loads and tough terrain.
Massive loads.
So the bulldozer is like reinforced with a nice blade on it. It has a ripper system on the back that's capable of breaking through hard rock, dense soil, and also features a low center of gravity for stability on uneven ground. So this thing's a fucking badass machine. It's actually Komatsu's the world's second largest manufacturer of construction equipment and mining equipment after Caterpillar. Now, I believe he got this like at the Ritchie Brothers and all this, but it was owned by a place called Fresno Tractor. So these guys have a 35,000 square foot full service facility that incorporates the latest technology in heavy equipment, repair, and fabrication. Please sponsor me. No? No sponsors?
No.
Yeah. So they sell big brands like Caterpillar, John Deere, Komatsu, New Holland, Bobcat, Dymax, and all other kinds of equipment. So these guys are located at 2730 West White Bridge Avenue in Fresno, California. And they are open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5, and they're closed on weekends. So if you're ever in Fresno, hit this place up. So these guys actually owned the Komatsu for like 6 years, and then they began renting it out until Marv had purchased it. Now, he was doing this, and he ended up fucking sticking it on a flat deck. He hauled it right to Granby, and he parked it on the access road of the muffler shop. And he gave it a nickname too. He called it his MK tank. And yeah, the thing's a beast. Like the whole dozer has like 4 forward and reverse gears, and it has a maximum speed of 7.9 miles per hour. So you can cruise in this thing.
Cruise.
And now the whole city of Granby here could have their fucking concrete plant, and Marv would have fucking nothing. But, you know, smack dab in the middle of everything here, like there's hotels, there's old folk homes, there's other buildings, you know, like cabins and shit like that. And all they were going to hear now, through like all hours of the night, was a fucking concrete plant.
Yeah.
And also, like, this concrete plant had no operation restrictions, right? So it could fucking blow concrete dust all over the entire fucking town.
Yeah.
And it would be run by a little douchebag named Dochef.
Do chef.
And for the most part, I mean, have you listened to Marv's tapes at all? That
No,
shit I sent you?
no. No, I'm excited to hear that.
Okay, cool. So usually concrete plants, like, they're usually built out in the country, not smack dab in the middle of fucking town.
Yeah.
It's just generally better to locate concrete batch plants outside of a residential or like a densely populated area due to the concerns about noise, dust, truck traffic, and all this can actually negatively impact nearby residents. It can also like bring down property values and shit too. So I mean, this was what Marv was fighting for, like to not have all this shit, to have it fucking moved away and not in the middle of town.
Yeah, he's also pissed at this do chef guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, look at them. Both of them fired deals at each other. Both of them just grew off each other, like they fucking fed off each other's egos and shit, right?
Dude, what was the guy's name? Was it like Duchette? From the fucking pedophile guy that stole that dude's kid?
Jeffrey Doucette.
Yeah, Duchette, dude. And then now we got do chef. Bunch of fucking douches.
Yeah, we came around full circle on that one.
Anyway.
No, I mean, like, even with the concrete plants, man, like, the whole dust, the various stages of operation. I mean, this includes, like, mixing, loading, all the truck movements. It's just crazy. Like, dust can actually contain particulate matter, too, that can actually be harmful to human health, especially those with respiratory issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the whole operation, it's just gonna make a bunch of noise, right? It's gonna affect people's quality of life. We'll dumb that down.
Yeah.
There's also spills, there's runoff from concrete plants. This can introduce pollutants into the surrounding environment. Also, can actually potentially contaminate the water source. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna fucking cause like delays in traffic, safety hazards for other people and pedestrians. Like, you could be walking out and get hit by a fucking cement truck. And like I said, too, it'll impact property values there, too, because the presence of a concrete plant can negatively affect property values in surrounding areas due to the environmental and quality of life concerns that are associated with it. The dough chefs didn't give a fuck. They built it anyway. And in Marv's own words, he said every time he tried, he failed. And this in turn, like, told him one thing, that God wanted these people to learn. And God knew that he would eventually get to the point where Marv wouldn't put up with what they were taking away from him and what they had denied him. Stopping his whole process over the hell, like 10 years and all that. And pretty soon, it would be coming up to the day where Marv would just do what he had to do. Now, Marv took the time to document all of his encounters, everything, the whole fucking concrete plant, the back and forths, the city council, the zoning shit, all of this through audio tapes. Now, he started on from the day that he moved here, from the time that he lost everything in Granby. And yeah, I mean, even the stuff that he wrote down, he actually put in a plastic bag, and he put all this like documents and everything in the back of his Subaru for people to find later on. Now, he also kept some records on his computer here, and he sent that to his brother up in South Dakota at one point here. So, there's a lot of people that knew Marv, too. Like, he became wicked disgruntled after this, right? A lot of people said that he was just pushed over the edge. I mean, plus with the death of his father recently, then he had a fire that destroyed his shed. He lost a prize snowmobile one winter, and he also had a recent split with his longtime girlfriend. So there's a lot of shit that comes into play here, man. And a lot of people, like, they may mention that his demeanor changed while he was hanging out with friends and shit. He was just wicked angrier. There was a dude named Alan Bender. This guy was a partner of Spirit Lake Polaris, so snowmobiles. He said one winter, Heemeyer was in the store. This was like an average of like 3 to 4 times a week. So he would often come in to talk about the equipment, though he did mention all the problems he was having with the whole town. As they got talking, Bender mentioned that, hey man, like we never got the chance to go snowmobiling together. So he's like, yeah man, I promise we'll go and everything, maybe next winter. And then Heemeyer just laughed and he went on his way. Now he knew that his whole plan in his head was up and coming. Actually, the fucking whole reason for this is actually he got this idea when he was chilling in his hot tub one night. So his whole idea was to take that fucking bulldozer and just run amok through town. But I mean, it was up in the air. It could happen. It could not, you know. This was the point that he was at. And there was one instance here when Bender visited him at the home here. Heemeyer had a bunch of like books around, magazines. All these were on different mechanics and a bunch of guns. So he was deep into shit, right? Yeah, I mean, like all the shit that went on in Granby, man, it took this guy's retirement away. Took his life away, actually, is what he said in his own words here. He said, I have no life. The life I got, sure, it's a life if you want to settle for that kind of life, but it's not what I've been taught to do. You settle for things if that's the way it goes. Now, Marv also remembers, like, every time he'd go to the post office and stuff, like, people would laugh at him, they'd snicker at him because of the whole shit with the city, right? They didn't give a fuck about Marv. All they thought of him was just he was some old dude who never got his way. But he kept on. He lived on the land that he leased now. And it's a nice little fact here, too, Josh. The dozer actually fit inside one of the doors here, the building that he stayed in. And it was like 2 inches shorter than 12 feet. So this actually fit right in. It was a tight fit, he said, but I mean, he made it in there. It was also 1 inch narrower than the door. So he had to take like the edging browsers off to get in there. And by now, what he would do is he would start working on this bad boy in secret, away from prying eyes. Now he modified the door, as well as putting 4x8 pieces of plywood on each side of the door so that the blade would go through. He also checked the clearance, and he had probably 2 to 3 inches of clearance. Now, he got this thing in there, and in his own words, he said, it was so tight, you almost had to grease it to get in there. So yeah, the whole thing with this bulldozer now, he was going to destroy the fucking town with it. He was going to fuck around with the people that fucked him over. So, I mean, he knew that since he got this machine, that it fit, he could now have a plan for it. And since it fit, this must be what he's supposed to do. I mean, obviously, he could have easily bought another dozer, like a more powerful one, a bigger one, or what have you. But it was the Komatsu that he bought for $16,000. And he took this as a sign from God that since it fit, he was now going to build this thing up, make a few modifications on it. And these weren't the normal modifications, mind you. I mean, the ones he was going to work on were going to be fucking epic. And as we wind down here, folks, we'll bust it into 2 parts here. But since it was wintertime now, he didn't have time to work on it. He wanted to have one last hurrah. So he took his skidoo out and he went riding all winter. It just seemed appropriate since, like, he no longer fucking had anything, right? His house, nothing was tying him down to the place anymore. So he said, fuck it. And he dipped out for a bit. And most people believe that the old beat-up machine was just another trinket for Heemeyer to tinker with on his spare time. Well, they couldn't have been more right. So, after the winter, he would start working on this thing. But, I mean, he was going to have his fun in the meantime. So, I'll continue this off into another episode here. I'll do parts 3 and 4 over the next couple of days here. And then we'll get into his whole vengeance and fucking everything. He took this whole thing to town, and nobody could fucking stop him.
Vengeance.
Oh, yeah, vengeance is Killdozer's, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into more fucking details on this here, because, I mean, Heemeyer worked on this behemoth for fucking months. And, yeah, nobody ever actually saw him, too, because all the time he stockpiled food, water, and other essentials in the building. He furnished it with a bed, a TV, and other necessities. And he just proceeded to live on the site. So what he did was prepare the dozer off and on, some days going 3 or 4 days at a time without a shower, working mostly at night to avoid suspicion and stuff, right? And he would sleep during the daytime. But we'll touch more on all this, how he kept it hidden, and what he did afterwards. So I thank you very much for listening. I thank you, Josh, for joining me. You were a fucking great help on this.
Hell yeah. Dude's gonna build a fucking bulldozer, and there's gonna be a detailed description of exactly what he did to build it. About as detailed as it could possibly be, and that's great.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I sent you the notes here. Like, I went pretty in-depth in that, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it there.
Oh, yeah, no. And then we'll post the the audio tapes. That'll be a good time, too. That's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, man. That's a good time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I thank you very much for joining into Twisted Tales. Thanks for listening. Check out Josh's show on Spotify for sure. Give him a follow. Give him a 5-star rating.
Appreciate
And
it.
we'll go from there, folks.
All right.
I
Peace
thank you
out.
very much for joining me, boy. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Tales, everybody.
Twisted Tales.